Hey everybody, welcome back. So I wanted to do another video, just like a shop video, talk about stuff that I use, stuff that I like, stuff that I hate. Really just a shop talk video. So anyway, I've covered a handful of the tools that I like a lot in other videos. I'm going to do the same kind of thing right now. If you're interested, like, comment, and subscribe, and share. But tools that I love. Let's talk about tools that I love. So I use some precision screwdrivers. And when it comes to screwdrivers, or really any hand tool, you really do get what you pay for. Sorry, I'm just gathering some tools here to show you guys. Everybody gets used to a certain thing in their hand. Everybody gets used to a certain way of doing things. But there's no reason we can't learn. So let's talk about precision screwdrivers. I don't have one here, and I thought I did. I must have thrown them all out because I hate them. But do you know the old school precision screwdrivers that are like the metal ones that have the ridges on the thing with the little spinny thing at the end with the little black tip? I hate those because they suck. They're so small, you can't get your meat hooks on them to twist and tighten things and loosen stuff up. So when I'm working on very small things like meter movements or knobs or whatever, I can't have a big bulky screwdriver, but I need something with a tip that isn't going to break off and round off a very tiny fastener. So I got these from, I don't know where, but they're Hakko USA. I don't know, somebody gave them to me as a gift. I thought these were okay because I like the box, and I leave them on my bench right over there. And you hit the button and they kind of open up into a nice case. Isn't that cool? And I've been using these for years now, but I hate them, but it's because it's what I had. Even on precision stuff, you see the tip is getting gnarly and mangled there. And what am I doing with this? I'm not tightening down head bolts, right? I mean, I'm tightening nothing, little tiny screws. And look at the tips, they're getting mangled. You see how this is shiny, but this is brass colored up here? It's because the plating is worn off. I mean, look at how mangled that is. And I'm tightening nothing with this. So these are shitty. So I've graduated away from these. And a few years ago, I bought these from Home Depot. Again, not a high-end screwdriver, but this rubbery little grip is really good at fitting in your hand, and you can get a good purchase on it. I like it. These ain't bad. If you need to do stuff that's small, that has to get loosened or tightened up pretty good, these aren't bad, and I don't remember how much they were. I got to imagine they were cheap, but they had these at the Home Depot, and I didn't hate these, and I do keep these around, and I do use them from time to time, depending. Then I went to Harbor Freight, and this was just last year, and I got these guys. And I don't know what the significance of the chrome plating Chinesium over the black Chinesium. My instinct when I use these is that this is, I don't want to say hardened, but they're slightly harder than these guys. And I like them. These aren't bad, and I feel like I got these for a few dollars at Harbor Freight. And they have a few different sizes here of Phillips and Standard. These aren't bad, but the problem that I found with these is, I'll show you. The problem that I have with these is the screwdriver tips themselves are short. So you're doing something precise and small in a location, but then you have to get the body of something down there. Sometimes it can interfere, right? These guys are a little bit longer. They're a little more useful. The shorter tip on these, useless. So I've stopped using these. I finally spent, believe it or not, that much money. And I bought these. These are my favorite screwdriver brand. If you guys are unfamiliar with this company, it's called Wera, W-E-R-A. All right? Wera makes the best screwdrivers I've ever used in my life. They have hardened and ground tips. These are sharp, like they'll actually cut you. This end spins, which is nice when it's in your palm and you can do this. They're long, right? So I can get into places. And they have a couple different size precision sets. This one here, I don't know which model this is, but these sizes here, that I don't know if you can read those, but whatever these are, they work for 90% of everything I have to do. And they're great. And if you notice, I've been using the heck out of the two Phillips here, and they are not boogered up or anything. I mean, they're good to go, and they are sharp on the edges. So precision screwdrivers, guys, you can use the cheap stuff, but it'll frustrate you. Get yourself a good set of, and it comes with this holder thing, which I think you can mount to the bench or something. I don't know. I might mount it back there, but these are great. I really like the Wera screwdrivers. So Wera screwdrivers I like. Next thing, this has replaced a box cutter that takes those blades. What the hell is this? I get no money from this. This is made in Japan. This tool is called a Canary. And I'm gonna get, I should have been prepared here. I'm gonna get something to show you why I like it. Because this tool has only one job in its life. It only does one thing, and it does it very well. This tool is designed expressly for breaking down cardboard and opening up packages, okay? So most of us carry a pocket knife, right? So you pull your pocket knife out of your pocket, you go to open a box with sticky packing tape and you get glue all over the fucking blade. It dulls it immediately. You know how hard cardboard is on edges. So then you upgrade to a box cutter, right? You buy a sheetrock knife from Home Depot or wherever, and then you start scoring and then you're replacing the blades. This has a micro serrated blade. And it's got a blunt tip, so when you're pulling it towards yourself, you don't stab yourself in the stomach. It takes a little bit of getting used to because you don't slice, you don't saw, but you slice, but you have to pull it through. And I wish I could show you guys here how great this works, but it's like that. You see how that works? I mean, normally you'd have the box against you, but you just, it's hard to do on a camera, but you just like that, and you slice through cardboard. And this thing here is nice and safe to cut open boxes. I use this every day, all day. I bought one, I put it in my kitchen drawer at home. I have one in the toolbox. I leave one on the bench. We're always opening up cardboard packages. Everybody gets everything from Amazon and online, right? We're always opening boxes. Go find yourself a Canary. This tool is great. It's never gonna go dull. It's safer for your wife and kids to use. It's got a nice big handle. It's yellow, so you can find this stupid thing on your workbench. The Canary, one of my favorite tools. And I recently got into that. I bought that tool a couple months ago, and I'm extremely happy that I did. That was a good purchase, and I'm very happy about it. So that's another tool that I love. Everybody, when they need heat shrink tubing, buys that. Everybody goes to Amazon and they type in heat shrink tubing assortment, right? Because they don't want to have to buy 400 different sizes of heat shrink. Now, here's the problem with these assortments. It always seems like a really good idea. So you get a cute little box and note there's 152 pieces of heat shrink in there, 3-to-1, whatever. When you get the box, you'll find that you get 100 million of those things and these guys. You tell me what solder connection you and I are going to make that's going to use that. Nothing. So I wind up using this one, which is about 1/8 of an inch. I use I'll use all these sizes from one bin, and then I'm left with a pile of shit I don't use. So here's the secret about heat shrink, right? You don't need to stock 400 different sizes of heat shrink. You don't. And guys starting out in electronics, they see when they go to a website and they look at the different sizes of heat shrink, they go, oh my God, what do I choose? There's 1.8 millimeter, 1.9 millimeter, 2.6, 2.9. You don't need to worry about all that. For the most part, we're soldering wires probably in the 20 to 12 gauge range, somewhere in that neighborhood. That's 90% of your bread and butter. And probably, if you're building amplifiers, you're probably going to be somewhere in the 16 to 14 gauge range most of the time. So you know what? If you get a 3-to-1 or a 4-to-1 heat shrink, that means it's going to shrink 3 or 4 times from its original size. So what sizes do you really need? Get yourself 3 sizes. Buy a whole spool. Get 1/8 inch, get 1/4 inch, get 1/2 inch. If you get 1/2 inch heat shrink, you're going to be able to solder almost anything you need. And the 1/8 and the 1/4 will cover everything else. You can even get bigger sizes. You can go up to like, automotive, like battery cable size, like for DC stuff. You can get 1 inch, 2 inch, whatever else you need. But it's very rare that we're using those sizes. So, buy yourself a big old honking mess of 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch, and even you don't even need the 1/8 really. I mean, but it depends on how small a wire you need. But because 1/8 of an inch is going to shrink down to like less than a 16th if you get a 3-to-1. Think about that. So, get 1/8, get 1/4, and get 1/2, and you're going to cover 90% of the wires. So now I buy stuff like this. This was 3/8, and this does everything. This is going to shrink down to a 1/4 inch. Saying whatever the heck this is. I think this is more 3/8. I don't even know. But I buy this stuff at Hamfest. Get that stuff at CB Brakes. Get it online on eBay. So I really like adhesive-lined heat shrink tubing because it doesn't go anywhere once you put it on, and it environmentally seals it. And if you're doing stuff in the mobile, you absolutely need to go for adhesive-lined. When you're doing stuff on base boxes, nothing usually is grabbing the heat shrink and trying to pull it off. And let's face it, when you make your joints, there's usually a little bit of a lump. So when it shrinks on both sides, you don't need the adhesive. It'll lock. It's not going to go anywhere once you shrink it. So my recommendation is to buy, believe it or not, non-adhesive lined for use in stuff like appliances, stuff that's going to be in your home, your desktop, these amplifiers, stuff like that. Non-adhesive is fine. And the other thing is, let's say you make a mistake or you need to redo a wire or change something later in the future. You're going to hate yourself if you got adhesive line compound on there because it'll never come off. So regular polyolefin heat shrink, just get a good 3 or 4-to-1. Get 3 sizes. It'll cover you for everything you're going to use in your shop. Okay? So, and speaking of heat shrink, I'm sorry, let me go get my heat shrink gun. I want to show you my favorite heat shrink gun that I just got. So, this here is my new favorite toy. This doesn't look like anything. I bought it on Amazon. I think it was $10. Everybody goes and gets the Harbor Freight or Home Depot, DeWalt, whatever, heat shrink gun. And it's always got a pistol grip, right? And they're like this big, and they got a big metal tip, and they're huge, and they work great, and they make so much heat they'll melt a resistor, right? They're awesome. But when you're working inside of a cabinet, you're trying to get into a hole, into a cavity, and heat shrink a wire by the edge of a transformer, you don't want to spray that much heat. So I got this thing, was like $9 on Amazon, and it's got this little nozzle, and it came with the removable thing here, and it's fantastic. And you put a wire in a corner by a switch, and this is a heat shield, so you can put it around the wire and just hold it, and you turn the thing on, and it just blows a little heat, shrinks up the heat shrink tubing. Perfect. And since it's long, it's not a big bulky thing, you can get it down into a hole when you're working on something. This heat shrink gun has been awesome. High and low setting. Love it. Love this heat shrink gun for like $10 on Amazon. Buy it. You're going to be happy. It had other attachments. I threw them the fuck out. This is the one. This is the one you need. This will protect stuff behind it from getting burnt. So, great heat shrink gun. And it's a nice small size. Other tools that I love. You guys are going to laugh, and most people have never seen one of these. This is a circuit board rotisserie. So, when you start assembling a lot of circuit boards, let me see here. Like, I have to assemble PCBs for the amps that I build, right? So So I need a way to hold these things, while I'm working on them. And this thing, I don't have it adjusted for this, but So anyway, so what I do is I bought this thing. It's from what's the name of this company? It's an electronics company, Velleman, Velleman, and it's a circuit board rotisserie. So you chuck up a circuit board in it, you put your capacitors or whatever in there, and then you can solder them, and you can flip it back and forth. You can put a resistor in there, and then you can solder it or move it back, and it keeps it up. Because you know, if you've ever tried to assemble a circuit board and it's on the table, it flops over when you don't have all the components loaded on it. This is a lifesaver. I mean, how can you beat this? And you lock them down, you know, spring loaded, get your board out of there. It's great when you're working with small circuit boards, like this is my King circuit board. This is a power supply board. So very cool tool, circuit board rotisserie. I mean, most people have never seen one of these, but it's always on my bench. Next thing, what else do I like a lot? What else do I like? What else do I like? Oh, let's talk about terminals. So one of the things that pisses me off when I open up somebody else's amplifier, which I really try not to do. Sorry, I'm starting to feel cluttered here. Is I'll open up a box and I'll see that on something. And I know that they went to Home Depot and they bought that ring terminal. And there's nothing wrong with that, okay? What bothers me about it is that nobody ever buys the actual correct crimping tool for that ring terminal. And here's what I mean by that. This is the actual tool that you need to crimp a terminal. They make a different crimper for insulated terminals than they do uninsulated terminals. Most people don't know that. Most guys take this and they get themselves a pair of pliers and they smash them down as hard as they can and they bolt it onto something and they say, oh, they're, you know, they say a wing and a prayer and they go on. The right size crimping tool, like this one, you know, solves all those problems. I forgot which side it is, but it might be that one there. Let's see here. Is that? See, that's too much crimp. That one I use too much. But the point is that, you know, you got to use the right, is that the right one? Or is it this one? That's a ratcheting crimp. Let's see here. That may be it. Still not the right one. I might be using it wrong. But anyway, long story short, I don't use them. You know, most of my terminals that I put in a box are not crimped. I use almost exclusively, I use crimped terminals, but I prefer to use I prefer to not crimp them, I prefer to solder them. So I like to buy, because it only takes an extra second and it makes the wire more secure. So I buy uninsulated terminals, I put the wire through, and I solder them. And I always make sure that they're not nickel plated, because sometimes crimp terminals will be nickel plated. Solder don't stick to nickel, folks. So these are tin plated. Some of them are solder coated, but these are tin plated, tin take solder. So I buy these things on eBay, wherever I can get my hands on them, and I put wires in them, and I solder them. And I have different sizes for different things. But I prefer soldering those terminals, especially in an amplifier where things are getting shipped and moved around and banged. I don't want something to pull, because let's face it, wires themselves have weight, and as things bounce around, they could pull out of that crimp if it's not crimped correctly with the right tool. So, but yeah, there you go. So I like to solder my terminals, and I suggest everybody do so. Or if you're going to crimp the right way. That's the other side of that coin. You know, I'm going to do another segment pretty soon about, another thing. Guys, please understand and learn what flux is. this is important. When you add flux to a surface, like a soldering point here, and then you take your soldering iron and you solder it, it will take less heat and the solder will flow more thoroughly into whatever the heck it is you're soldering if you use flux. If you assemble a PC board and you put flux on each one of these holes, put your parts in it, you can just go real quick with the soldering iron. Takes the solder like that, makes a better connection. You'll see it flow into a beautiful pool. It'll pull up on the wire. It doesn't leave a lump. And as you buy things like circuit boards and electronic parts and things, people don't realize that just because they're sitting in a drawer in your basement doesn't mean that these leads aren't oxidizing. They look shiny, but they're not as shiny as they were the day I bought them. The flux will eat through that and make a better connection. So I promise you guys, these are cheap. This is a few bucks on eBay, Amazon, anywhere. Buy yourself some flux. Make your life easier, especially when you're doing stuff like these AC boxes, because we're always doing stuff like stacking resistors or diodes, or we're doing chains of things. There's a lot of solder points. I mean, look how many solder points are on this one supply board here. I mean, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 24. I mean, you got probably 60, 70 connections here. And that's just the supply board, you know? So it pays to use flux, you know? Get into that habit. So that's it. This is kind of a shorter video. I don't know what else to talk about. We're doing pretty good mountaintop as far as getting boxes out. We built this box here I think I just uploaded the video for it. This box, we completed it in, I think it took me a total of 13 hours. I used to always average between 20 and 24 hours per amplifier. So I'm getting a little bit faster, which is nice, but this one took me 13 hours. I'm not taking any commissions still. I'm still only building boxes as I see fit when I want to. I've had a lot of people message me about GI7B boxes, and everybody wants a 2-tube or a bigger 7B box, which is what that tube in the back is. I have plans to build one more GI7B because I do have 2 tubes left and I'd like to get rid of them. I've been holding off talking about it because I've gotten a lot of messages about 7B boxes, and I always say I don't have the sockets. Well, the guy that makes the sockets, that everybody gets them from, messaged me last night, and he's getting me a couple sockets. So I'm kind of excited. So I'm going to have a 2-tube 7B come available in a month or two. I have to get the sockets here first, but I have everything else I need. So be on the lookout for a 2-tube 7B. That's going to be pretty slick. And I've got, I'm trying to think here. I've got one more project that's been on my back burner for a long time that I started before I got tied up in this one. So I got to get that one going. That's a 2-tube 35B. I've been threatening that for a year. But I got to get that box done, and it's a good friend of mine, so he's not worried about it. But so I do have stuff coming up available. I'm also probably going to build a single 35B. I think probably in June I'm going to start that. Probably in June I'm going to start a single 35B, and I haven't decided how I want to build that yet. If I want to build it as a desktop box, or if I want to do a 2-piece unit, or what I want. I don't really like building 2-piece units anymore. I've done a few, and that's typically the way a lot of guys do it when they get bigger. But you know, it does scare me because you're handing somebody something with a high voltage lead hanging outside of the box. So I'm going to give that some thought as to how I want to do that. But there may be a single 35B coming because the guy that's giving me the sockets for the 7Bs is going to give me a 35B socket. So I'm going to have the availability to do it. So if you guys are interested, keep a look on our YouTube here, subscribe, pay attention, and maybe we can get one of those out to you soon. I do have tubes here, which is good. Oh, and I started building a 500Z mobile box for myself. And then, you know, my truck's got an oil leak now, so I got to worry about fixing that before I put another alternator on it. But If anybody wants a mobile box, I have 2 that are almost done, and I would sell one if somebody wanted it. 3-tube 500Z mobile boxes. If anybody's interested in that, let me know. Again, if you don't know how to run an AC box, you don't have an AC alternator on your truck, please don't call me. You need to understand how an AC box works. But that's it, guys. I'm going to wrap this video up. I don't know if I taught you anything, but hopefully we all learned something together. I'm going to make another video probably in a couple days about something else. I wanted to do a video about viewer mail because I tend to notice that I get the same questions every week over and over and over. So I was thinking that a good video would be to just answer some viewer emails. I'm not going to blow anybody's spot up or anything, but I'll just make a punch list of the most common questions, and I'd like to do a viewer mail video for you guys. All right, listen, that was 26 minutes, too much talking. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.